sguardo innocente in mezzo alla gente, la felicità, e restare vicini come bambini, la felicità, felicità.
Good afternoon, dear Professor Introvigne.
Good afternoon from Torino, Italy.
At first, I want to thank you and I appreciate to your time and to this opportunity to record interview with you. As you know, in December of 2016, the Unsolved Crimes newspaper celebrates happy birthday. Yeah, we celebrate 2 years of our activities. And of course, as a chief editor of this media, I'm very interested in your point of view about our activities. And there are 2 reasons. First of all, you are well-known, worldwide renowned scholar, scientist, academician. And secondly, this year we had some common activities. Yeah, we worked together in some projects. And that's why you can make the objective conclusion about our activity. First of all, of course, I'm interested in what do you think? Do you like the activities of Unsolved Crimes newspaper? And please explain your answer.
First of all, congratulations and happy birthday for these 2 years of activity. Of course, I can only speak for what I saw personally, and particularly the videos about religious extremism you made inter alia by interviewing me. And I think the quality is very high. It's even unique in the international panorama. And I heard a lot of comments from people who have appreciated these videos, who have been spread and divulgated through the social networks, more or less all over the world, from Korea to China to the United States. I keep meeting people in international conferences who, one way or the other, came across these videos, and they are all highly appreciative. And when I visited Odessa, I saw some other videos covering different items, and I believe your work is highly professional and can be favorably compared to work done in other countries with similar purposes by organizations who have an awful lot of money, certainly much more than you have. So I think you could be very proud for these 2 years of work, and little by little you become to be very well known beyond Ukraine, and really you have an international audience, including of academics who really like your work.
Thank you, dear Professor. My second question is related with scientific approach. How do you think? How important is the using of the scientific approach in journalism?
This is very important, but it's also very difficult, because what is difficult is achieving a balance between the scientific approach and the possibility of being understood by people, because when things are too complicated, people get bored or people don't understand. In Italy, we just had 2 days ago a referendum on a reform of the Constitution, which was rejected by 60% of the voters. And one of the problem everybody's discussing is precisely journalism. How can you explain constitutional reform, which is a highly technical problem, legal problem, to the common folks? And most of journalism failed either for being too technical and people didn't care because it was boring, or either for being not technical, but in this case not precise, not incapable of telling to the people what the proposed reform was all about. So that's just an example, but it happens every day. Because when we talk, for instance, about religious extremism, that's one of your topics, but you deal with other delicate topics like what happens in courts of law or martial arts. Martial arts is also a contentious topic in a number of countries in the world, including Italy. So it's very difficult to achieve a balance between producing material which is highly scientific, cannot be challenged even by academics on the one hand, but on the other hand produce something which the common people can understand. And again, from what I have seen, you achieve this balance in a very good way. It's not easy. Perhaps not everything is perfect, but in the fields I'm familiar with, I would say your results are quite good. But this is a continuing effort. So in the various fields where you operate, I think it's very important to find experts, consultants, academics, scholars who can provide you with checks and balances, so to speak, and guarantee that what you say is true. And by the way, that's exactly the contrary of the way of operating of religious extremists, because they try to attract journalists not with high quality academic accounts, but with a sort of tabloid type scandals. So for them it's not important whether what they say is true, but it should be, so to speak, sexy, lurid, sinister, something capable of attracting a certain kind of journalist. I think this is one of the worst problems with religious extremism, because when they deal with an organization or a leader or a religious group or a non-religious group, they try to find scandals, or they try to find something which can catch the attention of the journalists for a few minutes, but they don't go to the substance of the matter. So, in a way, what I'm trying to say is that trying to report correctly, trying to use good science in journalism is in itself a political act. It's in itself a cultural act, because by trying to be understandable, not to be boring, but at the same time to build on a solid scientific academic ground, you make a political statement. We are not like the religious extremists. We want to make our point. We want to make our voice heard, but at the same time, we don't compromise with journalistic integrity, and we don't compromise with the need to have good, acceptable science as the basis for our way of building journalistic narratives. This, I believe, is very important, and at the same time, it's a very delicate problem today.
And that's why I think we have to have a great celebration of Happy Birthday, Unsolved Crimes, of the Merry Christmas, of the Happy New Year, and after that we'll start next year with the new power and with new results.
I believe that there is a lot you can do in several fields, but I am not as much as an expert in some other fields like true crime or martial arts, but in the field of religious extremism, this battle is not over. We see in many countries, particularly in your area, religious extremism trying to influence the governments and parliaments. So in my long experience in dealing with governments and parliaments, more than 30 years, and I have been representative of organization for security and cooperation in Europe for 1 year, dealing inter alia with religious liberty. I have been chairperson of a national body in Italy watching religious liberty. I have testified before some 20 parliaments or parliamentary commissions throughout the world, from Argentina to Germany. So I have a certain experience in this field. Perhaps that means I'm getting old. When people talk about experience, they are not very young any longer. But in all my experience, I learned a lesson. And the lesson is we should not have a mythological image of members of governments or members of parliament, because they should take decisions and make laws about pretty much everything, from the prices of the bananas to religious movements. And so they're not universal experts. Such people simply do not exist. And so we should, again, not treat them as academics, but treat them as a variation, sometimes more smart perhaps, but still a variation of a common audience. So even members of a parliament or members of a government can be misled by religious extremists. There is a real risk they will buy the narratives which is more shocking, more entertaining, more packaged with the appearances of truth, even if in the end it's not true. So I believe that there is a whole large field of relationship between religious extremism and politics which should be covered, and the only possibility of countering this unholy alliance established in some countries between religious extremists and politicians is to produce quality material explaining why religious extremists are wrong. But again, by quality material, I don't mean only academic quality, because there are entire libraries of good books, but the general audience will not read these books. They are too complicated, and even politicians, they have no time. They cannot read books about everything. So what you do is extremely important. Perhaps in our field is the most important thing to do, because academic books, there are a lot. We keep producing, but from the top of the mountain of the academic books, the academic websites, the academic online encyclopedias, to go to a level where all this accumulated scientific results or accumulated wisdom becomes something capable of interacting with politicians, governments, police, journalists, general audiences. There is a lot of work to do. This is your work. We social scientists or we academics, we cannot do this alone. We need quality journalism, quality media companies capable of working as translators to translate what has already been published and keeps being published in specialized media, but make this material accessible to a wider audience. Politicians are very much part of wider audience. Police officers very much part of wider audience. Government officers are very much part of this wider audience. So your work is extremely important, and even if you have already produced some good material about religious extremism. It's not over. There is much more you can still do, and perhaps within framework of a cooperation with people like me and others, of course, studying religious extremism and how some religious and non-religious movements are discriminated throughout the world. There is still a lot, I believe, that can be done.
Thank you, dear Professor. Greetings to you from my chief scientist, Oleg Maltsev, with a Merry Christmas, with Happy New Year, and of course, we'll see you next year.
And Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you have a good Christmas, and we'll meet again, hopefully in the new year.